Hello, this is RICKY, the Android guy. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Android Weekly / Android Q&A, where we go over all the latest news that happened during the week and then answer all of your questions live. If you're new to Android Weekly, we start off with the weekly news, then we go into answering the questions that were emailed to me during the week. If you have a question, just email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com, and hopefully I'll answer it next week. But, however, the bonus is if you ever watch live, you get to ask your questions live and I will answer them live. So if you're watching live right now, just leave your question in the comment section down below, and then we will be able to answer it at the end of the show. All right, let's get started with the weekly news. Not too much to report this week. It's kind of been a slow week overall for mobile. After Google had their announcement, and after everything happened there, it's been relatively slower since then. But yeah, so there hasn't been much movement after that announcement. So what did happen during the week? Well, the very next day, LG announced their V10. Now, this is a new phablet size phone that's going to take on the iPhone 6 Plus as well as the Note 5. And it really has some interesting things to offer. Now, the very first thing is that it does have a secondary screen. So as you can see, the style and the look is very similar to the G4, but a bigger size phone. But really, the drop resistance, actually another one that I'll mention right now, since it does have this thicker metal frame and then removable backing still, but the removable back is supposed to be thicker as well. So it can take a 4-foot drop. Now, you still have the manual camera modes, but they did add manual video. And of course, the main thing is they have a secondary screen. Now, this screen will be on at all times. So that's the big thing about it, is that the screen is always on, but you can also flip through it and then see things like your schedule, like your music playlist, like jumping to apps, like your favorite contacts, and of course your notifications. So it's a very useful screen. My one concern is I don't know if I like it at the top with a bigger phone. I would assume like, oh, that would have been genius at the bottom where it's easily reachable. It's one of my main gripes about the iPhone 6 Plus is that their back button is all the way on the top left corner, which if I'm right-handed, then I'm not reaching it. So yeah, so that's my only concern, but we'll wait to see until we get into the studios. Other than that, it has a hexa-core processor, the 808 that the G4 has. It does have a 2560 by 1440 display, quantum LCD, so same LCD panel that again that the G4 has on there. Still removable battery, still add-on storage. One of the biggest things that I feel though is it starts at 64 gigs of internal storage. Now that is a great place for a phablet to start specifically, and the fact that you still have additional storage really helps it out as well. So overall, I'm pretty happy with this device. I can't wait to see it in stores. Now, we are going to get it released in Korea on October 8th, but it will come to the US in November. And it will be coming to all carriers but Sprint in mid-November. So T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T will all get it. Now, the other big news LG announced was the first Android Wear LTE watch. So this is a really interesting watch. It abandons some of the things that made the Urbane so big, but it adds other things. So one of the first big things about it is that it has a huge battery, but that does make it a bit bulky. And that also means that whatever watch band you get, you have to stick with because it's not interchangeable bands. And it does look like this is made more for a sports look than the elegant, classy look that the Urbane did. So I'm kind of curious on if this is, it is coming to the US, but which carriers will carry it, and I'm curious to see how it goes. Again, and I'm also curious about the battery life of it, just because with battery life on, say, like Samsung smartwatches, it did have HSPA plus, not LTE. You know, you still got a day to day and a half on average with heavy usage. So I'm really curious to see if with LTE you'll still get a day battery life. I'm really curious to see this. Maybe if you're connected through Bluetooth most of the time, you won't need to worry about it, but I'm just curious to see if it'll drain much quicker, especially because Android Wear is not the lightest OS out there by far. That's why it needs stronger processors than pretty much most other smartwatches out there in the market. All right, the other bit of news was the Lumia 950. Yes, we have a Lumia 950 and a Line 50 XL that did leak. And both of these will be 20 megapixel cameras, 32 gig storage, plus more micro SD card expandability. And then you have a 5.2-inch screen version and a 5.7-inch screen version. The really interesting to me is why the two camera differences if they're the same camera. I feel that there has to be something else to that. Maybe I could be wrong, but I'm just, why would there be a different looking camera? This is the more traditional Lumia camera, and this is the newer style looking Lumia camera, if they're going to be the same. Now, we will say that it is going to be announced next week, so we should finally get pricing and everything about this device at Windows 10's announcement. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that Lumias will make a comeback? I unfortunately do believe it is too late. Windows just took too long to have any kind of traction after they bought the Lumia brand. And even though, yes, this will be like their first high-end Microsoft Lumia, I just feel it's too late, and they lost a lot of the traction, the little traction that Nokia did gain when they had the Lumia brand. And finally, in the last bit of news, we have heard once again that the S7 from Samsung will carry a Snapdragon 820. If that's true or not, we'll see. The rumor is now, though, that it will only be the US and China versions that carry the 820, and all other versions will carry the Exynos chip. It's kind of curious to see if Samsung would go back to this. Unless they're having really production issues, I don't see why, because they make a lot more money, of course, if they make their own chip. But if they just couldn't meet the supply, then it obviously would be a good reason. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, or does this even matter? Does the processor really matter to you guys? Would you rather have a Snapdragon, or would you rather have an Exynos processor? I feel that the Exynos has had less lag, but that also could be because of more RAM this year, and the fact that, you know, with more RAM, you have less issues. But I definitely feel it'll be much better once Marshmallow comes out and we finally get rid of Lollipop. All right, now let's get to the questions that were emailed to me during the week. Again, if you have a question, just always email me at asktheandroidguy@gmail.com. All right, now the first question that we're answering today is from Bob, and Bob asked, I'd like to know, I liked your video and I learned some tips by watching it. However, a couple of features you highlighted seem to be blocked by my phone, possibly by Sprint. Do you know a way to unlock them? Auto restart and Smart Manager. So there is no way to kind of unlock them as them being active in your phone, because they were actually removed from your phone before it hit you. So there's no way to remove that because it was removed by the carrier. Yes, Sprint did remove it. Is there a way to add these features is more of the question, right? So here's the thing. You cannot add auto restart because that is a built-in feature to the phone. However, Smart Manager seems to be nothing more than an app. So what you can do is simply type in on Google Smart Manager APK. I'm going to do it right now live just to see if it will come up. And Smart. So this is the S6 version. I would have to try to keep looking a little bit more to see if I can find a, oops. So this is an S6 version, but just to give you an idea of a quick Google search, and I was able to find it right away. So you can install this on your phone and it would work fine. But all I did, again, was just search for Smart Manager, and that was it. Just Smart Manager APK, you'll find it. I found this one right away. I'm sure there is one. If you specify it more for the Note 5, then you can get the APK, and yes. So yeah, that's it. Once you side load it on there, you're all set. And remember, it is Smart Manager for this device. All right. The next question comes from Leonard, and Leonard asks, I have a Note Edge. I dumbed it down to an KitKat from Lollipop. Lollipop had a lot of lag and drained my battery life very quickly. I completely agree. I would have done the same thing. I don't have an issue with KitKat, but I miss some of the features on Lollipop. Should I update back to Lollipop or deal with it, and should I just wait for Marshmallow? So you're asking me, right? So my opinion is yes, I would hold on to KitKat till Marshmallow would be available. Until then, I would just stay on KitKat. I know there are some features that are lacking on Lollipop, that are lacking from Lollipop, but overall the stability and the battery life is worth it in my opinion, because you want a working phone first and foremost, and I don't think Lollipop really provides that. So for those reasons, that's why, yes, I would be inclined to recommend you hold off on upgrading to Lollipop until Marshmallow comes out. That's my opinion. Let me know what you think. But I'm not a fan of Lollipop at all, and I really loved KitKat, and I can't wait for Marshmallow simply because Lollipop is a dud to me. It's one of the main reasons I'm excited to try out the new Nexus that we'll get in October, simply because of this. Tom asks, hey, I asked you earlier question. Okay, so he had 3 questions. One, he wants to get a slick wrap for his S6 Edge Plus. Or sorry, he wants to get a skin for it. Do you prefer DB brand or D brand or slick wraps? I've only used slick wraps. I haven't used D brand. So therefore my default would be slick wraps. However, I haven't used D brand, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily a bad brand quality, but I mean, slick wraps have done well, and they've done well in the past, and they offer a lot. Also though, the other one that I have used in the past is Skinit. Skinit I feel does offer the most of all of them, but again, it just depends on what you want to get. I've used Skinit because I've found a lot for like my phone, my laptop, my tablet, my PS4, everything I own, they've kind of have before, and I do appreciate that. So those are the 2 that I have experience with. So those are the ones that I would recommend for that purpose. Do you use the S6 as, Edge Plus as your main phone? Do you like it? Yes. Well, it's not my main phone, but it is one of the 2 phones that I use on a daily basis right now. I just finished using the iPhone 6 Plus for a week. So after using that, yes, I now switch back to the S6 or Edge Plus. God, these names are confusing. So the Edge Plus is what I switch back to now. I probably will. This is my secondary phone. Ultimately, my Note 5 is currently the favorite right now, but that could change with everything coming out over the horizon. We got the V10 coming out from LG, as well as the Nexus 6P, which I'm going to test out. So ultimately, the Edge Plus is one of my favorites of the year. Yes. And is one of the main phones that I use right now. Do you have any negative things to say about the Edge Plus? No, really. I mean, in terms of battery life, screen quality, and camera, it's the best. I mean, you cannot take that away from the Edge Plus. It is better in each of those categories than any other phone on the market, it being the same level as the Note 5 in those 3 categories. Screen quality, battery life, and camera, the Edge Plus beats out every other phone on the market right now. And that's not a question. It does. For all those 3 categories combined, it beats it. So yeah. Overall, I mean, the Edge Plus is a great phone. I think it just gets downplayed because a lot of people stick to the Note a lot. So then they're just wondering, oh, well, what's really worth it? But I've told everyone that I know that are like, oh, well, I have the S6 Edge. I don't really need to upgrade to the Edge Plus to it. And I'm like, I would personally, I would easily upgrade to the Edge Plus. If I had an S6 Edge, I would easily upgrade to the Edge Plus. So got a lot of questions on here. I thought the LG V10, again, if you have a question, make sure to ask it now in the comment section down below if you're watching, and I'll answer right now live. I thought the LG V10 was supposed to have a stylus to compete with the Note 5. I was disappointed. I know they have the prepaid version called the LG Stylo, but that's not so. I do take Samsung's side when it comes to there's a difference between the stylus and an S Pen. The S Pen has function, as where a stylus literally just does the same thing that your finger does. So, for instance, on the LG Stylo, yes, it has a stylus built in, but you can't say highlight words that you normally couldn't highlight with your finger. The S Pen can do that. You also can't be able to do just like hover over something with like Air View, for instance. Those are things that the S Pen can do that a stylus can't. So yes, I was expecting LG V10 to have something like that, but they didn't. And I would assume it's more of a it's either a patent issue or it's a Wacom provided issue. So Note exclusively uses Wacom, which is the best in precision in all tablet-based systems or touch-based systems. It's what literally every animator, they use Wacom tablets for every Intuos Wacom tablets. Every animator uses this in the world for Pixar, DreamWorks, all of those. That's how precise this needs to be. And Samsung has worked with them for 5 years now. So I think it's because of that no one else can get a stylus with the kind of precision that Samsung can, because my guess is they signed an exclusivity clause with them. Whether that will ever change or not, it could, but I just don't see it happening for that reason. What are your thoughts on Sprint layoff workers? Do you think they are poised to take over AT&T and Verizon once they shut down Clearwire? I just don't think they have coverage with every clear. So here's my thing. I don't foresee. I mean, Sprint is now number 4. You have to understand that. Yes, they do have money, but obviously they're trying to save money right now, because the only reason Sprint has money right now is because of SoftBank. So SoftBank is the reason why they have money, or else they wouldn't have money right now. And that has brought about just not the best overall experience, of course. So overall, I would say that with Sprint, I do not see them ever overtaking Verizon or AT&T. I don't see them coming close to it, especially since they cannot buy out T-Mobile. If they could have bought out T-Mobile, that would have been a big win. But since that time, T-Mobile has now overtaken Sprint. They are now the number 3 carrier in the US. So I just don't see Sprint making a comeback, at least at this time. Could they? Yes, anything could happen, but I just don't see it. And it started because, for those of you who don't know, the reason why Sprint had such bad coverage and why they lost so many customers was this: WiMAX and LTE were completely not compatible at all. They just couldn't work together. So as you're saying, get rid of Clearwire. Essentially, when they get rid of WiMAX, all those towers are gone. But so this is what happened. For about almost, it's going to be a full 2 years, Sprint had to go from having, WiMAX technology allowed them to have the first ever 4G network. They were the first 4G network above every other carrier. However, HSPA Plus, which is what AT&T and T-Mobile built, is compatible with LTE. Verizon went straight from 3G to LTE, so they didn't have any issue either. It's why they have the biggest LTE right now too. They have the biggest because of that. So here's the thing, and that's why when you see Sprint, they say they have the largest 4G network, because they have the HSPA Plus and the LTE, which makes it 4G. So all of this marketing terms that I love in the mobile industry. But yeah, so I don't foresee Sprint, because they had a 2-year gap where they literally lost money, because every WiMAX tower that they did not sell off cost them money, because they had to, it was useless now to them, because the new phones could not use WiMAX. So this tower was now a dead zone for any LTE phone. So if you bought the latest, Note 5 and you came from a Note 2, maybe even Note 3, let's say Note 3. So if you came from a Note 3 to a Note 5, your Note 3 had better coverage for a long time than your Note 5 would have. And that was the issue that Sprint had over the last 2 years because of this technology gap change. And that's why they lost so many customers, because customers just didn't have coverage. They had an LTE phone where they didn't have any LTE and they could only have 3G, and it was just really bad. And I remember when I was going into a Sprint store and I visited them and, just talked to some of my friends there. Every single time I would visit, it's like another customer was leaving them because of, it was just more and more issues. So yeah, that's I don't foresee Sprint challenging the big two. Could they challenge T-Mobile? Yes, possibly. But this layoffs of, so many people does not bode well. It could be the technicians, unfortunately, which I actually love that about Sprint. They always had technicians that actually knew what they were talking about in store. I feel that that's a miss for other carriers, but if I had a bet, I'd say technicians are the number one people that could be taken out, or they could be switched over to sales roles, in my opinion. Mohammed, when is the Gear S2 3G coming? And what's your thoughts on Android Wear? Because I'm considering the Huawei watch. Okay, so two things. When is the Gear S2 3G coming? I hear it's a fine watch, fine watch. Yeah, no, the Bluetooth one came out. 3G one's not out. From what everything I know from my sources are telling me, it's around November. When in November is, I think, the thing that Samsung and carriers are having trouble pinning down. But it looks like it's November. If I was a betting man, I would say early November, simply because you have to have it before Black Friday and you want to have them used to selling it before then. So I would bet November, early November, probably like, early teens if it's sold in the teens. What's your thoughts on Android Wear? Because I'm considering a Huawei watch. I think the Huawei watch is ridiculously expensive, and I don't see the justification in it. I would prefer the Moto 360, but I'm also not a fan of the Moto 360 for the reason of the flat tire. But the Moto 360 to me is more adequately priced, whereas the Huawei watch I feel is too expensive. My thoughts on Android Wear is you'll see this at every single review reference this, because me and my fellow reviewers say this all the time, is that it's like an unfinished product. It's just not as easy to navigate, and it's really, I feel it's great for notifications, but not much else. It's not where it needs to be, especially because, in my opinion, and I showed this on the OS comparison. So check out the Gear S2 versus Android Wear, which was posted last week, and it really just doesn't seem to have a good presence in that aspect. It's just a lot more easier to navigate the Gear S2, in my opinion, than it is the Huawei watch, or any Android Wear for that matter. I'm getting a Note 5 tomorrow. How easy is it to configure right out of the box? Well, it's very easy to configure if you watch the How to Set Up the Galaxy Note 5 video, Nick. Just saying. No, yeah, but it's pretty easy to configure out of the box. If you have your old phone and it's an Android, tap it when it starts in the beginning, and that way it'll transfer everything over from Android that you have. You also can transfer everything from Smart Switch from your old phone too, whether it be an iPhone or another Android. It'll be quick, easy to set up. So yeah, overall, I think it's pretty good, easy and quick setup. Just, check out my video on how to speed it up, as well as how to set up the camera, and you should be fine. I'm thinking about getting the Samsung Note 5. Help me make a decision easier if I should. There is not one phone I would recommend over the Galaxy Note 5, Lewis. So there isn't one phone that best camera, battery, screen, period. No one can argue this fact. It has the best camera, the best battery life, and the best screen. Done. I mean, you cannot argue that fact. Any reviewer can try to do, no, No, that's it. That is it. It has the best camera, best battery life, best screen. So I mean, yes, there's lots of other bells and whistles that a lot of different smartphones have, and I'm not taking that away from any smartphone. But to have those three, I think, is a really big benefit, and you have that with the Note 5. Michael, I've been considering Windows Mobile. I just make calls, text, check social media. Love love mobile phones. What advantages does Windows? I'm guessing what advantages will Windows have? Well, it's kind of hard because see, Windows we haven't seen in a while now, so it's really we have to see what Windows will offer before I can really say, well, what advantages will Windows have? I mean, because a lot of Microsoft's advantages have gone. For instance, one of the biggest advantages I would have said about a Windows Phone before was you get free Office. I get free Office on my Note 5. So that's advantage is gone. You have Outlook. I get Outlook on my Note 5. That advantage is gone. It's really hard to say what advantage Windows phones have when they clarify, the Windows 10 advantages this will have. I think that'll make it a lot easier, and we'll get that this week when it's announced. But yeah, that's my thing. It's hard to say. For social media, it's not good, and so it's not good for YouTube either. YouTube has been pulled down so many times from Windows, it's not even funny. You kind of have to be without YouTube, or you have to have a third party for YouTube. So yeah. And for social media, it's not good. I mean, you don't have a lot of the big ones out there. I mean, you do have an Instagram, I believe now, or is Instagram still not there? A lot of social media just took forever to get to Windows, or is still not on Windows, or it doesn't work as well on Windows. I mean, if people think, that what is it? That Snapchat is bad on Android compared to iOS, well, it's even worse. Like those kind of things are even worse on Windows. So that's the main thing. So even something as basic as what you're asking for is not necessarily guaranteed on a Windows phone, Michael. So yeah. Can you explain Samsung Pay a little better than you did in your past video? I saw that you can touch the side of the card machine. Explain. How many times have you used it? I have used Samsung Pay probably over 50 times. So yeah, I use it on a daily basis now. I got it on my Note 5 now, so I'm really happy. And like I show you on the video, you just swipe up from any screen. You choose your card that you want to use your fingerprint, and then you pay. And it's just that simple. You tap on anything. You have a 15-second gap. And if you're paying at a restaurant like I have in the past, you're going to have a circle around it after the 15 seconds goes up so they can renew it once without using your fingerprint. So yeah, that's Samsung Pay. It's just that simple. You scan in your new card and you pay anywhere. The only places that you can't pay is if you have, say, let's see, how would I put this? If you have a credit card machine, okay, so we'll use this Amazon card. So if you have a credit card machine where it goes in like this and it has something blocking you, then this you could not put in there. So that would be an example where you couldn't use Samsung Pay. For instance, gas stations tend to have this. Gas stations that have a handicap part, though, tend to not have it because they have a lower one, which is just a regular swipe. So those you can use Samsung Pay at. And I have used it to get gas multiple times with using that. What's another thing? When have I not been able to use it? That there was one mom and pop restaurant. It had a machine that was over 20 years old, so it happens. But again, I've used it over 50 times most likely. I've used it for about a month and a half now. So I mean, for me, it's nothing now. Like every time I go to a restaurant or a fast food place or like a Starbucks, I don't need to because I have their own app, so I just use that. And plus, that's one thing. Samsung Pay, the beta and so far the current version cannot use the what do you call it, gift cards yet, which it really annoys me because I want one app to use for everything, but I can't because my Starbucks app can't go in there and my AMC card can't go in there. So I'm kind of stuck with that. But yeah. Also, how big of a leap is will the Note 5 be over the iPhone? Which iPhone? It is this comparison will come out this week, but the Note 5 did beat out the iPhone 6s Plus in more categories. So yeah, you'll see that it side by side comparison, everything compared, each category, photo quality, video quality, web browsing, look and feel, gaming, everything is compared. But it is a worlds better compared to last year's iPhone. This year's iPhone did step it up. I'm not going to discount them for that. They did step it up. However, it's still not good enough in comparison to the quality on those three things that I mentioned earlier. The screen, you watch the video comparison on this, and it's just night and day difference. I mean, no one would pick the iPhone screen over the Note 5 screen in video quality. When you're watching a video, you're like, yeah, no, this one's better. There's no talk, there's no comparison. This one's better. The camera comparison was definitely closer. What messed Apple up though was really the selfie. And you'll see it. It'll come out later this week. But overall, yes, the Note 5 is better than the iPhone currently is in more categories. Danny, what is the worst thing about the Note 5? No IR blaster. You said software-wise. But I just had to get that out there. I miss my IR blaster. I miss it. I miss it. Although I'm going to do a review. I'm getting a new TV, so I'm going to probably wait to do that just so I don't have to set it up twice. But I did just get this in, and it's from Logitech. And this little hub will allow me to use my smartphones or my tablet to control everything again from my phone. So I'm very happy about that. And I'll show you guys how to set that up and how to do it. That is coming in the coming weeks. We just have so much to review right now. I mean, we have the iPhone comparisons. We're comparing the iPhone to every Android we have. So we're comparing to the G4, to the Note 5, Edge Plus, Edge, all of them. So yeah, a lot going on right now with the comparisons. So that's kind of taking up my whole week. So we're doing all those. Besides that, I think that's it right now. And then the Nexuses are going to come out towards the end of October. And then the V10 is going to come out mid-October. So we're kind of booked. But I'm going to try to work out everything. Also, since I did go to the VR event this past couple weeks, I did get to check out all the new stuff, and I think I finally found a way to capture VR and show it to you guys again. So hopefully that'll work, and if it does, hopefully it will be soon when I can show you guys. All right, got my S2 on Friday. Very nice device. Bezel is the business. It is the business, right? Chronos, how much will the S2 3G cost? My guess would be $399. The S2, this one that I'm wearing, costs $299. The classic version, which I'm having shipped to me right now, that one costs $349. And then the LTE one, I would guess, would be $399. That would be my guess. We'll see if I'm right, but yeah, that's probably what else I would say. All I know is the LG G4 has removable battery, micro SD card slot, so I will be downgrading a little to have. So I will downgrade a little to have those important features. And for some people, that's a really big difference. But honestly, I would say consumers have kind of spoken on that, right? So here's the thing. Samsung completely outsold LG this year, right? Even though LG had a phone that had micro SD card and removable battery, Samsung was on the up from their S5. They're up year over year on the S5 sales. And their Note 5 has sold more than their Note 4 did last year. So while we can complain about that as much as we want, the general public has said, screw it. We don't have micro SD card. We don't have a mobile battery. We're fine. And for me, you guys have heard me say this time and time again. Samsung isn't going to put micro SD card back because their phone is too fast for it. Their phone goes at 350 megabits per second. Every other smartphone on the market goes at about 100 megabits per second to 150. The fastest memory card in the world right now is 95 megabits per second. The fastest memory card that most consumers have is probably less than 45. It would be like having unlimited internet throttled. So yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I do believe that the Samsung phone moves so much faster, and a lot of that reason for that purpose. The other thing is that honestly, with wireless charging and fast charging, I would take that over a removable battery. I have not missed having a removable battery at all. But again, that's me. I never saw a removable battery to be that big of a deal, to be honest. But I've heard plenty of people tell me like, oh, well, I have a job where this, and this, and so that's why I move. I completely understand that. You should have a removable battery on your phone. For me, it doesn't. I've never needed it, so that's why I've never needed it. I will say this though, even those people now with the fast portable battery pack that you can get, which costs about the same price that your removable battery would have. Again, it's just so the reasons for a removable battery I feel are less and less, and I don't feel they're as necessary as they used to be. When phones didn't last as long, when we couldn't have a solution for quickly charging your phone. I mean, have to charge in half an hour is freaking amazing. I'm amazed every time when I plug in the phone for a little bit and it's already to 100%. I mean, that was literally probably about 20 minutes and my phone's 100%. It was like at 70. So it really is amazing how quickly your phone charges, and you hate it when phones don't now. I hate every other charger. I'm like, oh my God, why is it so long? It's kind of like when we had LTE for the first time, and then like you like use your friend's phone that has like 3G. Like, oh my God, you mean you have to wait a minute for a web page to load? This is torture. And it's like, we were just like that a little while ago. So we can't do that in normal places, basically. So I just feel that that's kind of like really outdated, and yeah. I knew Samsung would pull the same thing iPhone did with 100,000 memory upgrades, and you don't have to upgrade because you can't swap out the batteries and it won't charge you anymore. I wanted Samsung, but LG. So here's the thing. Samsung didn't pull it because Apple did it. Samsung did it because, again, memory cards aren't fast enough to keep up with it. They're just not. The 350 megabits per second is what Samsung does, and a memory card at the fastest speed is 95. Now, when memory cards improve their speed, which a regular SD card can go up to 250 megabits per second, but micro SD is different. That's only at 95. So when we get faster memory cards, yeah, I guarantee you Samsung will put back the micro SD card as soon as memory cards are faster, Samsung will put back the SD card. I'll bet you anything. But they're not going to do it right now. And removable battery, again, I mean, that was simply from what every one of my friends that works for Samsung told me, no one was buying them. Apparently less than 5% of people bought removable batteries. So, and that was apparently, and this is what I kind of found hard to believe, but apparently that was including like when a battery goes bad. That was like, say if your battery went bad in the first year and Samsung swapped out your battery, that was including all of those, less than 5% compared to what the phones they sold. So it just was costing them money. So I can see that. Samsung went on sales because of their name, like Nike. I would say that, but then why didn't the G4 sell more than the G3? because the LG, we would have seen a spike in LG sales if that was true. If Samsung won in sales just because of their name, we would have seen a spike in LG G4 sales, but we didn't. So yeah. But what happened when the battery won't accept the charging more? You cannot overcharge the battery on a Samsung if you use wireless charging, if you didn't know. That's why I mentioned the wireless charger. If you use wireless charging every night, your battery, the cycle count doesn't mess up. You cannot overcharge your battery if you wirelessly charge. That's why it's so important, because my battery will be the same today as it is 5 years from now, because I'm using wireless charging. That's why. That's why it's so big and important too. No, memory cards are not fast enough for music and info. It would just slow down. It's not even close to the speed it needs to be for music, especially music. No, not music. Hell no. No. That's completely wrong. It's not fast enough for music. You could say it could be fast enough to transfer files, but then if you're transferring files slower, then it's a whole mess. So no, that's way too much difference of a speed difference in comparison. And you ask anyone that has a solid state that came from a hard drive, and they know you can't go back. You just can't. It's just too fast after going back. All right, guys. We will call that a show. And yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy the show. Next week, yeah, we'll find out. There's nothing. No, I will have a show next week. I'm just making sure there's no interference. I felt like last month was so much like, oh, well, I have this going on, this going on, this going on. There was all this kind of stuff. But yes, guys, we'll be coming live for you next week. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. This has been RICKY, the Android Guy.